Welcome to this week's edition of It is Chaile Time, and today we have a guest speaker here with us, Rene Schreuder. I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly. And not Schreuder.
No, not Schreuder.
It's Schreuder.
Yes.
So today we are talking recruitment. Why, how, with who? Why is it important to have recruitment agents like yourself or making use of the services of a recruitment agency? What's the benefits to employees? What you can teach us? Employers, how do you make their lives, or especially the lives of HR managers, how to make it easier? But before we get all through the nuts and the bolts of who you are, what you do, how long you've been coming, I've known you for a couple of years now.
Yes.
So we first need to get a bit personal.
Okay.
Tell me about yourself. Are you married? Do you have kids?
Yeah.
Previously, what did you do before recruitment? I'm
Yes.
sure there's much more to you than just recruitment.
Yeah, well, so I am married. My husband's name is Jaak, and I have 2 kids, 2-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old son.
Okay.
Very small still. Hard work. But yeah, so I actually have a background in HR. So I worked for LabourNet for quite a few years.
Oh.
So I...
We won't say that name here, though.
Hush.
Labour who?
Labour who? So I have about 15 years experience in the HR field.
Okay.
My last 8 years at my previous company, I was more involved in the operations of the company,
Okay.
looking at process flows, putting structures in place, scaling, those types of aspects. So yeah, that's where I come from. And through my experience and my consulting with thousands of clients and understanding myself, being able to hire people and having to sit through interviews, I've actually realized that there's quite a big gap in the market to make sure that you don't waste time recruiting. And that's where Flink was born.
Yeah, we're going to get through the detail, because what you have to offer is quite special. And we want to spend quite a considerable amount of time in your niche and how do you do things differently. But what a move from being an employee to suddenly being an employer or having your own business. How did that come about? How did you decide, listen, I need to go on my own? Myself, I was pushed out with COVID.
So you won't believe Flink actually, the idea started in the COVID period.
Okay. And how did that idea? I mustn't tell how this idea for Effectus Harmony came to be. I'm going to tell you, but you tell first.
So it's a strange thing, because I was very happy where I was, but I kept on having this feeling like I needed to make a change. And I know people always say you need to be passionate about what you do and make a change in the world, but I honestly, I love solving problems. That's like a thing for me. And the recruitment industry was a big frustration, and I identified a problem, and I then decided I'm going to make a difference, but not just for companies, for candidates as well, because I think that's the biggest challenge in the industry is everybody worries about what the employer wants. And a lot of the cases, employees don't even get feedback. No one talks to them and helps them and all of those things, and that's where I want to make the difference.
That's extremely frustrating.
Very.
Yes. I remember when I was in corporate. Now, I've studied and I'm qualified. I've got a master's degree in business. And I remember in those days how often I applied via recruitment agents just to never even get an acknowledgement that my CV was received, or never even got an interview, not a single one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and especially with our unemployment rate in South Africa, we need to try and empower people to find the right fit, because then they'll stay longer and then businesses will grow more. So it's a passion project for me. I want to leave a legacy and make an impact on the industry as a whole. So that's where that came from, and my business partner feels exactly the same way.
Look, I know you a bit now. Okay, we've been working together from a HR/recruitment perspective for a couple of years now. What I can say is you are hugely, explosively successful.
Oh, wow.
Talk to me about your business.
So,
what makes you so special, so different? And you know what? You are different. In terms of your services.
Absolutely.
Personally, you're also different. Bit weird, but...
Bit weird, bit strange. Quirky on the one side, I agree.
But what makes Flink Recruitment different?
So, Flink combined tech, psychology, and human insight. That's what we focus on. So we use pre-interview psychometric assessments.
Pre-interview psychometric
Yes.
assessment, yeah.
Because how many times have you had to sit in an interview with an employee that you want to hire and they walk in and you know this is not going to work because what's on the CV and the person that you meet.
Oh man, you should have seen our last podcast. The last podcast was lies, damn lies on
Yeah.
all these CVs.
It's crazy.
It is so frustrating.
It's absolutely. So what we do is we don't waste employers' time with doing interviews with candidates that's not going to fit into the culture firstly, but also as a person's not going to work in the organization. So we do pre-interview psychometric assessment. So every single candidate on our platform does a psychometric assessment where we evaluate their cognitive ability, their personality trait, their job fit specifically, and we look at them, what motivates them, what makes them happy. So through that, we use data-driven decision-making to really find the right
But I want to
person.
be a bit of a Achilles heel here.
Sure.
Employers, do they even know what they want? Because, I mean, traditionally you'll sit there, as you say, you go by what you see on the CV, and everything is based on a gut feel.
Yes.
If you sort of, I think you're a bit new in the market in terms of your concept.
Yeah.
If you approach an employer and say, listen, I need some specs in terms of what you're looking for, don't you find like they themselves don't know what they're looking for?
So that's part of our service as well, because we have a massive amount of data in terms of what type of individuals work in what type of industry. What for a financial manager in the construction industry is a different type of person as a financial manager in a marketing company.
Oh, so you can already consult and recommend certain
Exactly. So
specs that a person or profile should look like, depending on the kind
Yes.
of business or service or jobs function it may be.
Exactly, because a big mistake that employers do make is they have massive expectations for a specific role.
Yeah.
They have this massive dream list and they're not willing to move, right? So if we get a spec like that, we talk to the client and say, we can get you this person, but they're going to cost you 3 times what you are budgeting and what's within your budget. Or this person doesn't exist. So we actually have AI that assists us to scrape the internet to find candidates. So if we can't find them, they do not exist.
So without giving us your intellectual property, because I'm burning to ask, tell me exactly how does that work?
You'll have to see.
But just broadly speaking, AI, this whole concept of AI is sort of flooding the market. I've seen on YouTube, they're asking about us over 50, and I'm 50 now. When we think of AI, we're only thinking of asking a question to ChatGPT. I visited a friend of mine about a month ago, and he's in SOE marketing, and my goodness, I still don't understand it. But the way he's using AI, he's got his whole AI team.
Yeah.
And they all got different names, all these avatars. And they all are just working on his company. And I'm just like, my goodness. I'm still a bit too...
You're baffled. It's baffling,
But now, so AI, how does it help you in your business get clients or staff, employees for your clients?
Okay, so
without going to understand too much detail, but broadly speaking.
So there's a lot of places where AI is included into our tech. The critical thing is our AI is self-made, so we're still busy training our AI.
Yeah.
It's still learning. It still needs to understand what we want, so we need to slap it on the wrist once or twice, and then it changes. But we actually busy developing our 2.0 that has a more advanced AI, so I can maybe talk about that a little bit more, because the MVP product, it's a minimum viable product, is the basic functionality, because we're still teaching. So our 2.0, we're actually going to have AI where CVs can just be uploaded onto the system. It automatically populates everything. Firstly, that's a small step. But then we also have job specs that can be uploaded where the AI then automatically looks through. We have over 400,000 candidates on the system already.
Oh my goodness. And they've all done psychic assessments.
So we're sitting on a 67%. So usually what happens is a lot of people want to do it immediately, but then some of the candidates who's not necessarily looking for something don't do it until they're getting contacted by the system to say someone's interested in you.
Okay.
So basically you upload the job spec and the AI then runs through all of the candidates to find keywords, find who works, who doesn't. That's the second one. And then the third one is where the psychometric assessment comes in. So we know we've trained the AI to look for specific behavioral traits in specific type of people with specific industries.
I've got a testimony.
What?
I know somebody from a company.
Yes.
And I know a person who used to work for that person.
Yeah.
And this person made everybody in the company do your psych assessments.
Yes.
And it's remarkable. You know, this guy is an absolute believer in your product.
I think I know who you're talking about.
You may know, but anyway, and he told me, listen, Flink's reports say that individual is a dishonest kind of person. You cannot trust that person.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it's just true.
But that's the thing.
And it wasn't just one, there was actually two of them.
Yeah.
And both of them are no longer working for him because they were caught out in dishonesty.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
And it's really so it's not our psychometric assessment.
Okay.
We've partnered with Integrity International. Dr. Fick is the psychometrist that actually developed the test, but he has years and years of experience and years of data. And we've just identified the right test, partnered with them, and utilized algorithms and AI in the background to interpret the data that he gives us. And that's what helps us to make those decisions. And that's why we honestly have a 97% success rate for long-term placements because of the test that we utilize.
So you say about 97% of the people that you place, they stay long-term.
12 months or longer, yeah.
What's the average? Do you have any idea in terms of what the average in the industry may be?
So
my experience, it's very shaky. It's very uncertain. Yeah.
So as you know, retention rates are quite different per industry. Like your call centers are really high, where your accounting firms aren't necessarily.
I approached you last week about a call center. They're sitting on something like 94% turnover.
It's crazy.
Okay, that industry is typically high, but I think 94% is pushing it a bit.
Yeah. I also think, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but I'm so passionate about this specifically, is it's so important to look at the person behind the paper. And that's why we do the psychometric assessments, because we need to know if this person is going to be happy in this role. Yeah. Is this really what they want to do, or are they just doing it because they want to make money? And that's where a lot of companies come in, make an error in a way, is they look at the CV and the experience. Yes, this person has been in call centers for 10 years. But do they really like it?
That's what I've told him. Look, you can have all these people coming in here, you do your recruitment interviews, hiring process. Very few people actually enjoy doing sales.
Yes. It's a different type of person.
That, especially in a call center environment where you pick up the phone. I mean, I didn't tell them that, but I was so tempted to say, listen, I hate call center agents. I can't stand them.
and it's a hard job.
It must be such a hard job to do. People are just throwing the phone down in your ear.
Yes. So you need someone that really likes to do it. And that's where the psychometric assessments come in. Because you can't hire a sensitive person in a call center. If you hire a sensitive person in the call center, they're going to burst out into tears every second call they make.
Yeah. I want to, on this topic of conversation now, and I actually don't know the answer. I don't know, do your tests somehow test for EQ?
So we have additional tests that we do for EQ if clients require that. It's not part of the system automation with the AI. We're planning on it. Watch the space. Yeah. But what the test does take into consideration is your personality type. So we know, are you a team player? Are you people orientated? Can you solve problems? Do you think outside of the box? Are you sensitive? Are you transparent? So we know all of those things about the type of person you are. And that then helps us. And with the data, years of data that we have, we know that a marketing person has this set profile. We don't put people in a box because it depends on the company as well. So there's a lot of factors, and that's why AI helps us so much, because if one person has to do everything, it's not going to be automated and it's not going to be fast.
I'm actually busy. I started with a mediation process at the company yesterday, and we'll probably conclude sometime next week. And I was actually thinking about you in terms of these tests. In this situation, you have two senior people in the company, and they're not getting along. There's no relationship between the two. So the one reports into the other one, but they are both very senior in business. And the company don't know what's going on, and they have their own meetings with the people, and they're not getting anything out of them. So I was called in. It's actually a new business, new client. So I was called in and I had a meeting with one person for about an hour and about 40-minute meeting with the other person. I got everything out of them. And you know, Rene, in this situation, and this is why I'm asking about the EQ, the subordinate, her EQ is through the roof. It's just, and I've told her, it is exceptionally high.
Yeah.
I mean, the way she explained to me, you know, that the other day she gave an employee, one of her subordinates, a warning. But she made an event out of it. Coffee and asked her about her family. Are you okay? I'm going to give you a warning now, but don't feel too bad about it. And I'm just like...
Just get, yeah.
And I'm like,
That's
from
great.
an IR perspective, we just send a WhatsApp and say, be warned. And she's making, like, bringing the cupcakes and everything. I'm just like... And eventually I told her, and where it all started was with a performance management 2 years ago with her new senior.
Yeah.
But she's been in the company for 32 years, since she was 19, okay? And she's one of those people, she prides herself in her performance. But and she had 6 seniors prior to this guy over a period of 32 years, and they were all great communicators. So in my mind, their EQ is also a little bit higher. And if there was an issue, they will discuss it and debate it and whatever. But this new guy is just like, you're not performing.
Yeah.
Get out.
So that's the thing.
And they clash and they don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And you know what? At the end, I asked her, what do you want? You know what she wants? She doesn't even want an apology. She just wants to have a meeting, a normal business-related meeting with a guy where he actually talks back to her.
Yeah.
Because he can't talk. He's just like a go, come, yes, no kind of person.
Yeah.
And there I was thinking, but you know, in the recruitment process, how important it must be to look at EQ levels, for instance, you know.
So we don't necessarily call it EQ, but we look at verbal reasoning, perceptual reasoning, communication, your factual, are you very factual? Are you just, this is what it is, I don't care what you say.
Yeah,
those types of things. So I had a client, I'm actually busy with this client, working with them. So their executive team, massive conflict all over the place the whole time. So we did the psychometric assessment with the entire team, but the biggest thing that we picked up is that all of them are not sensitive. Their sensitive is a 2. The highest in that whole group is a 3. And that
and what is the highest it can go to?
It can go to a 10. You don't necessarily want a 10. It depends on the role, of course, but a 2 is really low. So that's why there's constant conflict, because
like
they are not sensitive towards
place.
each other. They just say what they want to say, and there's no, it's just, this is what it is. Look, there's industries...
But at least they're all like that. Imagine you put 110 in that mix.
Oh, that person's going to leave in 2 days. So we have an actuarial firm to who we consult, and they know, and it's a joke, but in their industry, you can't hire someone that's higher than a 4, ever. That person's not going to stay.
But I think people in companies, you know, employers, they need to be mindful of these dynamics. You don't just employ people and put them in there and you must not just do the job.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can have and this is a rugby saying, you can have the best players in the country playing for the Springboks, but if they can't get along, you're just not going to win.
Yeah.
You know, those psychological dynamics is extremely important. I just don't think employers care about this.
And
probably most.
No, some employers do, but most employers go on gut feel. And that's what we've been trying to change with Flink, because we consider the team dynamic. We talk to the client and find out in what department is this person going to work, what type of culture does your company have. The nice thing about the AI is if you're a client on Flink, the more searches you do, the more it starts to learn who you are and what you're looking for and what's important. So amazing, that helps quite a lot in the long run. So we have clients where we help them build pipelines. Yes, it takes the AI about 2 to 3 months to get it right. But once it's right, you can hire someone in 2 days. So it makes a massive difference. But our biggest thing is the team dynamic. To hire someone that's going to grow within your organization and be successful within your team, that's then going to grow the whole group. So it's not just about hiring an individual and filling a vacancy. You need to really think about it, because it costs you more to replace someone than it does to actually spend a little bit more time, do a psychometric assessment and get the background and understand who you're working with.
From a certain perspective or certain point of view, we don't need your services, because if that is the case, then they're no longer employ the dishonest people, then I won't have a job.
Well, you don't just fire people for dishonesty, right?
You do a lot of that.
Yeah, well. So can I tell you an interesting fact?
Yes.
So we've been having issues with some of our clients not wanting to look at anyone with an honesty level of 6 or lower, and
They still disappoint.
yeah,
I'm sure.
So they don't want to look at anyone with a 6 or a below. And we've had issues because the younger people, the younger generation, and I'm not stereotyping, it's actually literally what happened, the data, if you look at it, their honesty for some reason is not a 9 or a 10 or a what. It's a little bit lower. And that's why it's so critical that people do not just try to interpret a psychometric assessment. You need to understand what you're looking at. So a 4, in essence...
But you help with that, with
yes,
interpretation.
no.
Yeah.
We do, and the system also does. But a 4 is not bad at all.
Huh?
It's not bad.
40% sounds like a matric pass rate.
But you're looking at it literally. You need to look at the whole profile of the person. And if their dependability, for
so
example...
you mean in the land of the blind, the one with one eye is king?
No.
Is that what you say?
So if their work ethic and dependability and all of those things are scored high, remember, honesty in a way can be subjective.
Yeah, of course. And I think
So if you ask me now,
also,
have you ever stolen a pen in your entire life? I'm going to say, I'm going to have to think about it, because maybe at school once I took a pen and I didn't realize it wasn't mine and I realized it later. There's a lot of factors
say no,
there.
but I've stolen money.
But see, if you think about it a little bit, and then there's a question later and you're like, did I not?
A pen.
No, but
Anyway.
so that's what I'm saying. So it's very subjective. So that's why it's so important and so dangerous for employers to try to interpret psychometric assessments on their own. You either do it through the system or you get a psychometrist that actually helps you to understand it.
So your message to employers, how do you assist them? What do you offer them? How do they approach you? And just by the way, you will find your details in the bar below. So if people want to reach out, they will know how to get hold of you.
Awesome.
But how do you, or how must employers approach you? What are you trying to tell them?
So we are trying to tell employers to use pre-interview psychometric assessments. And Flink has automated it. So we've done it in such a cost-effective way because we've automated it that any company can do it, any recruitment agency can do it, and it's not going to break the bank. It's important to do pre-psychometric or pre-interview psychometric assessments, because what happens is employers do interviews and the person they decide to hire, they send for a psychometric assessment, and then if it comes back and it's not the right fit, then they've wasted so much time. So rather do it before you waste your time sitting in an interview. Make sure, so that's what Flink does, is we have the ranking AI algorithms that ranks candidates based on their cognitive ability, their behavioral traits, which culture they will fit in, and of course their work ethic and all of those aspects.
And then obviously you try to find a placement. You try to find a candidate for them.
Yeah.
And with that you have like a 97% success rate.
rate.
But okay, you had a bit of a key word there, a broken bank. Now, with obviously, you're not going to disclose fully in terms of what your pricing are. What's the philosophy behind it? Because typically you'll find that the recruitment industry, they will charge something like 15% blanket for based on the annual cost to company of a new placement. What's your philosophy? I know you guys have different pricing options. Talk to us, how does it work?
So we have the ad hoc options that starts at 8%. Depending on the role that we're working on. So it's 8% of the annual cost to company. That's the one.
Yes, that's like a half.
Yeah. So we can afford it because we've automated.
Because you're not doing the work anymore.
Yes,
AI does it for you.
Exactly. So we have those options, but then we also have retainer options where we can actually where a client can subscribe to the software. And then have access to the candidates. If there's no sufficient candidates, we advertise the role. So we make sure that you have a massive pool of candidates that you can choose from, that the system will then shortlist for you. So we have the retainer option, we have that, but then we've also launched the ranking product. So we've realized
ranking product. What's that?
So we've realized bigger companies that has their own internal recruitment department, doesn't use recruitment agencies, but they love the ranking that we do with the psychometric assessments pre-interview. So we've ring-fenced that out of our system and created...
But what do you mean with ranking? What do you rank?
So we rank the candidates. So if you get 4 people, right, that you love for a role that you want to place, and you want to do an interview with them, before you do that interview, You let them do the psychometric assessment through our ranking product. That's online. You buy credits, so you can buy as many credits as you want.
You got all these options. That's what making it so exciting.
It's awesome. So you can then do the psychometric assessments, and the system then does a detailed report for you and a comparison between the 4 candidates so that you can make an informed, data-driven decision.
Okay, so it will rank the candidates in terms of
yes,
compare it to the specs that the employer is looking
exactly.
for.
Job fit, cognitive ability, all of those aspects.
No, awesome.
Yeah, so that's a separate product, and that's based on credits. You buy credits.
But something, what's quite interesting, I think there's a bit of a nexus between your industry and my industry. We all are sort of under the umbrella of the HR field, skills development, IR, recruitment. And there's a misconception out there that these services must always be expensive.
Yes.
Now, granted, if you're on the typical standard rate of 15% cost to company over an annual period, that can be quite substantial. But if you look at all your options, that's what's making me exciting, is that an employer can employ an HR manager that really knows what he or she is doing. You can employ an ER manager. You can employ a recruitment manager. But it costs a lot of money.
Yes.
Those kind of salaries, we're typically looking at, obviously depending on the size of the company and affordability, but to get somebody that knows what they're doing, we're looking at anything from about 50 grand a month to, I don't know. Yeah. I know about people who earning about 150,000 rand a month, you see. But because I often get this, you must pay a retainer of 10,000 rand or whatever it may be. How can it be so expensive? I'm like, really? Go employ somebody?
Yes, exactly. And calculate the actual time that's spent, right?
And that employee or that individual do not have the resources that you have, the intellectual property, the AI, the systems, the mechanisms, the psychology behind it.
Yeah.
So that's what making your business exciting, because you don't only have the stereotype 15%.
No.
You've got all these different pricing options that are available, which is quite cool. Now, in this client we spoke about last week, in terms of the call center, they were looking for something where you only do the psych assessments. They will do the recruitment themselves.
Yeah.
And you said that there is a product that you have for that. So for employers who still want to do their own recruitment, but you can actually just help with who's who.
The ranking product.
The ranking product.
Absolutely. Because you can test as many candidates as you want, and it stays on your profile. It doesn't leave. Okay. So you only have to pay once per candidate, and it stays there. And you can build a pipeline for yourself of really good candidates that's been tested, that's been ranked. But I recommend to do it pre-interview so that you do not waste your time.
Don't waste your time. Now, look at the prices too. It's quite attractive. Okay, employees. We've spoken about the employer, what you have to offer them.
Yeah.
Employees.
So with employees, we have a dedicated success center. Success center that focuses on the candidates that's on our software. Okay. It's very important for us to make sure that we get good quality candidates that actually are who they say they are. So we do proper reference checks, but the nice thing about loading your system on Flink is that it's only done once.
Yes.
It's not going to be done every single time an employer is interested in you. Okay. So we actually track that on the system. But what we also do is we have options where we call the candidates flinkers, where the
flinkers.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We love it. So where the flinkers can actually download auto-populated CVs from our system. So they input the information and it generates a CV for them. Then we also have options where they can consult with us personally to take them through their psychometric assessment, assist them, advise them on their strengths, their weaknesses, what they need to work on. But then we also have a call center that helps candidates before interviews, prepares them, don't give them crypt notes, but prepares them and say, you are aware who the company is, have you researched them on LinkedIn, all of those types of things. Okay. But then afterwards, we also get feedback from the client, give it to the flinker, advise them and say, this is what the client's feedback is. Maybe next time do X, Y, and Z, and all of those things. So there's a success center that focuses purely on the flinkers to make sure that they also get something out of this, and that we can help them find a job that they will be happy.
But finding a job, this can be a very frustrating process.
It's a loaded question.
It is such a loaded question. Look, let's park the high unemployment rate.
Yeah.
Let's just park that, because at the end of the day, if you want jobs, you need to grow the economy, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. But there's a second element or tier to why people can find it very difficult to get jobs. And that is something that I experience quite a lot. Sometimes through my networks, people will ask me, companies will ask me, can't I place an ad on my network? And I do that normally for free of charge. I just put it out there, And it's interesting, it's as if job seekers, they don't understand themselves. They just put their CV out there. I will have a position available for a chief financial officer, which is like an executive in finance. Then you'll have people who are cleaners applying for it, who's got no qualifications, nothing. Then I'm like, why don't you get? So what is the message to job seekers, especially in your platform? Because if they're going to be surprised if they're going to approach it like I traditionally would by just putting your CV on a website and hope for the best. It's almost as if your approach is you really need to know yourself. Yes. What do you have an aptitude for? Your own strengths, your own weaknesses. What kind of career should you be in, or what kind of a career you should not be in?
So there's I can talk about this for hours. We actually advise grade 12s to help them to set off in their career. And there's a lot of training that we also do on that. But I think the key aspects that you need to look at is know yourself, know your strengths, understand where you need to improve, where you don't. But do not just look at title. A lot of people just look at the title. Look at alignment in terms of what you can do and what makes you happy. Because a team leader in one company is not a team leader in another company.
It's not the same thing. Yeah.
Do not search titles. Look for the type of role that you will be good at. That's the first one. And then also be visible. So be on platforms. Load your profile on Flink. Even load your profile on PNet. Have LinkedIn. Have a proper LinkedIn profile. Make sure that everything is aligned. But then key thing with CVs, and that's where the Success Center plays a big role, is we help them to put keywords in their CVs.
Okay.
Because remember, a lot of recruiters go onto software that's not necessarily Flink, any software, HR software. When they search keywords. So if keywords are not there, you're not going to pop keywords. Up. So use the correct keywords. So our Success Center helps them to identify the keywords that needs to be in there, because it's going to help our AI. But then if they download our CV, they can then load it somewhere else where the keywords will also pick up.
Yeah.
So keywords for the specific jobs that you're looking for.
I think it's important what you're saying there. And a lot of job seekers do not understand this, the importance of social media in our lives.
Very much.
The biggest transactional issue between humans, whether it is it's a company looking for an employee, whether it's a business looking for a client, whether it's looking for a spouse, I suppose, is trust.
Yes.
Trust is the single most important key ingredient of any relationship. And you'll be surprised that if a person applies for a job, HR managers or recruitment agents, they actually go do a social media search on you. Yeah. So if you're going to sit with a picture on Facebook drinking the booze, you're probably not going to get the job.
No. And that's the thing. And everybody says, no, but my social media is private. It's social private. Media for a reason. It's not private.
Social. It's not private at all.
And make sure that you're honest in who you are and what you are. Rather admit your shortcomings than try and hide it. I think that's a very big thing. But social media is just don't put anything on there that you don't want your mother to see. Let's just say that.
That's extremely important, But anyway, what's your future? What's in the future for Flink? What projects are you currently working on?
So we have big plans. We have lots of balls in the air, but we luckily have a massive and amazing team that stands behind us and helps us stands with us in essence and helps us to achieve it. So we have the ranking product that we're having in testing phase now, and we're planning on launching in July in South Africa, and then we're launching the ranking product in the UK in August.
Ooh,
so very excited.
Yes, you guys are expanding.
Yeah, very excited about that. So we've been testing the waters in the UK with basically the last year with hiring South Africans to work for UK-based companies. They love the South African work ethic.
Everybody
loves us. So it's been a very big success, and that's why we're planning on launching the ranking product in the UK. We're busy developing our 2.0 version of Flink with all of the additional bells and whistles, so basically the Ferrari of the system, which we're planning on launching next year, and then also in the UK, and then we're expanding to the USA in about 2 years. That's our big plan.
Oh, great. Yeah. Rene, thank you.
Thank
I've
you.
enjoyed this very much. And please don't forget to stay a little bit longer for our weekly jobs review, where we actually advertise fresh vacancies we have in our networks.
Awesome.
Anyway, great.
Thank you
See
so
you
much
next time
for having
again.
me. Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you. Bye-bye.
Good morning, everyone. Let's have a look at some of the vacancies posted nationwide on our Harmony Peoples Network this week. A well-established CCTV company in Main Reef Road, Amalgam, is seeking a female to help with general HR work, scanning of stock, and daily warehouse duties and other general work. In Pretoria East, there's an opportunity for a financial administrator. Ambit Connect is advertising for a network engineer in Cape Town. There is also an opening for a HR generalist position in Cape Town. For the full information of the mentioned positions, how to apply, as well as more available positions, find the vacancy link in the description. You will also find a link to a useful video on how to compose a winning CV and have a successful interview. Tune in again next week for more Harmony vacancies.